Hi, I'm Shelly Kraft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you live from the Planet MicroCap Showcase 2017 at the Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. I have with me Neil Seeman from RIWI, RIWI. It's a publicly traded company, and the symbol on the CSE is RIW. Neil, welcome to SNNLive.
Hey, Shelly, thanks a lot for having me on. It's been a great experience so far. Thank you.
Well, thanks for saying that, and I'm glad you're here. Let's start out finding about RIWI by starting with an overview of the company, if you would.
Sure, thank you. So we are a global survey technology company, a global messaging company, and a global prediction science company. And we were born in a dorm room at a university.
Which university?
It was originally incubated at the University of Toronto at my research shop. Then we became a private company. I quit my job, self-funded it for a while, and now we're a public company, so I'm an accidental entrepreneur.
So this is like Silicon Valley in the garage, right?
Except I was 42 when I started it. Slight difference.
So what's the essence of the company? Where's the secret sauce? What's the deliverable, and how do you make money?
Yeah, thank you. So we deliver essentially global opinion data, message testing data, and prediction science data to companies around the world, corporates, large multilaterals, governments, organizations like the United Nations, who want to understand what people really think, whether it's in parts of Kenya, whether it's in 232 cities all across China, and whether they want to understand whether an emerging market is changing, the health of an economy is changing, whether they want to understand the market size for cannabis, for example, or they want to understand highly sensitive issues like what people think of ISIS and how ISIS treats people all across the Middle East.
So I understand that there's a demand for this information because, you know, a lot depends on this feedback to these major corporations in order to decide how they're going to market to it or how they're going to use that information. How do you gather that information? What's your secret, and what is the technology that you use, and is it very specialized?
Thank you, Shelly. So my technology, our technology, is now referred to as random domain intercept technology. It works off the architecture of the URL bar or the web address bar. So essentially every day, every second of the day, people in every city on any web-enabled device accidentally type in a mangled domain, a website that doesn't exist anymore, a non-trademark domain. And what we have is a technology where, since 2009, over 450 million people in the world have provided us some opinion data, some reaction data, and a lot more machine data on essentially what they think on highly sensitive issues. And so our secret sauce is based on the backbone of the internet. So as the internet grows and more people have access to the internet, especially in Africa and all across Southeast Asia, the RIWI platform grows.
So are you getting people to answer surveys, or are you just capturing data like other people do of where they're going, how often they go, what they buy, what they see, what are they looking at? You know, I want you to really clarify it for me because I know my investors that are watching have some of these same questions.
Absolutely, thank you, Shelly. So it's the first. So what we're doing is we're collecting pure survey data, so what people think. We do collect machine data, of course, we collect operating system data, but we don't collect browsing history data, specifically because we need to default to the strictest privacy compliance rules in the world. So the organizations that we work with, we're the preferred bidder for the United Nations World Food Program for web surveys in 72 countries. These are organizations, the Gates Foundation, Harvard University, that requires us to default to the strictest privacy rules in the world and not collect that browsing history data, which could be potentially at risk.
Now, I got a question for you. Let's say the Gates Foundation gives you a bid. You accept a bid. You start to service the Gates Foundation, and you know, is that information strictly for the Gates Foundation, or can you reuse it elsewhere without conflicting with the contract from the Gates Foundation?
No, so generally speaking, it all depends on the contract and the nature of the contract we sign, but generally speaking, the client owns the data. But that being said, we're always collecting proprietary data on our own. So in hotspots around the world, whether it's Turkey or elsewhere, where we want to understand political unrest, we have our engine on all the time. And we do that simply because we learned pre-commercialization that there's some really cool things that we can predict, anticipate, and track that others can't, like the fall of Mubarak, which we're on record as having done, like the election of Donald Trump, which we kind of accidentally stumbled into, and a bunch of other things that potentially our clients may not care about, potentially they may. So it's a bit of both, Shelley.
Would the U.S. Congress hire you to tell them if the Russians hacked the U.S. elections?
So potentially. I can say that we are a direct contractor for the U.S. State Department. They're interested in a wide range of things. For them, we do message testing to try to understand whether messages work. And that can obviously be applied to the corporate sector as well. Now, with respect to understanding hacking, what I would say is that what we measure, and this goes to the machine data that we collect, is we measure the technical health of the internet, which is very important in parts of Ethiopia where they've shut the internet down on occasion. It's very important intelligence to understand whether it's Russia, whether it's elsewhere, whether there's oppression of the internet and how that internet is being affected. So yes, theoretically, we can do that kind of work.
Now, what was your background again?
Thanks, Shelley. So again, I'm an internet and global public health guy. So I my research unit was originally charged with government funding to try to understand people's perception of pandemic spread around the world. So they really needed a data solution that would understand where best to educate people, whether in northern Mexico or elsewhere, about the safety of different interventions by the government. And that's really important to resource allocation. And then we kind of commercialized by accident. Some very wealthy people said, hey, Neil, you got a company here. And I kind of got sick and tired of government funding, and I said, hey, I really enjoy being a CEO. So then that's how that materialized.
All right, Neil, here's the $64,000 question. How do you know that the information that you're gathering is correct?
It's a great question, Shelley, and probably the most important question. So we do come from an academic background and a scientific background. My parents are brain scientists, so I take the idea of scientific falsifiability of data very, very importantly. So if we're measuring something that we wouldn't expect to see changes in, like, for example, understanding whether people believe that life is fair, which is an interesting question, we test that. So we have scientific falsifiability every day to understand whether or not there's a change or inflection in certain things that we wouldn't expect. We also test our data every day, so we want to make sure, for example, if we're running multiple waves of data on whether or not the people of Turkey thought that America was behind the alleged coup last year, we want to make sure we have replicability on ethnic and other regional breakdowns. So we do a number of tests to ensure that our data are real.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me get you a website for more information, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Shelley. It's RIW.com. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Neil Seeman, RIWI. It's a publicly traded company, and the symbol is RIW on the CSE. I'm Shelley Craft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you live from the Planet MicroCap Showcase 2017 at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. Neil, my pleasure having you.
Thank you, Shelley. Great.
Thanks. Love it.